Hello everyone, my name is Anushree, second year BE in Information Science and Engineering student at Sri Venkateshwara College of Engineering, Bengaluru. Today's topic of my presentation is file concept and access methods. Contents: Introduction, file structure, file type, file access methods, and conclusion. Introduction. The operating system provides a logical view of the information stored in the disk. This logical storage unit is a file. The information stored in the files are non-volatile, means they are not lost during the power failures. A file is a named collection of related information that is stored on a physical storage. A file is a named collection of related information that is recorded on a secondary storage such as magnetic disk, magnetic tapes, and optical disks. In general, a file is a sequence of bits, bytes, lines, or a record whose meaning is defined by the file's creator and user. File structure. A file structure should be according to a required format that the operating system can understand. A file has a certain defined structure according to its type. A text file is a sequence of characters organized into lines. A source file is a sequence of procedures and functions. An object file is a sequence of bytes organized into blocks that are understandable by the machine. When an operating system defines different file structures, it also contains the code to support this file structure. Unix, MS-DOS support a minimum number of file structures. File type. File type refers to the ability of the operating system to distinguish between different types of files such as text files, source files, and binary files, etc. Many operating systems support many types of files. Operating system is a MS-DOS and the Unix have the following types of files. Ordinary files. These files are the files that contain user informations. These may have the text, databases, or executable program. The user can apply various operations on such files like add, modify, delete, or even remove the entire file. Next, we have directory files. These files contain the list of the file names and other information related to these files. Special files. These files are also known as device files. These files represent the physical device like disks, terminals, printers, networks, tape drive, etc. These files are of two types: character-specific files and data is handled character by character as in case of a terminals or a printers. Special files. Data is handled in blocks as in case of disks and tapes. File access. System files and data are kept in the computer system's memory, and when these files are needed by an application, the operating system must have some way to read the memory and access the appropriate files. File access methods in OS are nothing but the techniques to read the data from the system's memory. There are various ways in which we can access the files from the memory like sequential access, direct or relative access, index sequential access, relative record access, content addressable access. First, we'll move on to the sequential access. It is the simplest access method. Information in the file is processed in order, one after the other. This mode of access is by far the most common. For example, editor and a compiler usually access the file in this fashion. Read and write make up the bulk of the operation on a file. A read operation, read the next position of the file and automatically advance a file pointer, which keeps track of IO location. Similarly, for a write, next append to the end of the file and advance to the newly written material. In this diagram, you can see the representation of a sequential access mechanism in which the file is processed in an order, one record after the other. Data is accessed one record right after the another record in an order. When we use the read command, it moves the ahead the pointer by one. When we use the write command, it will allocate the memory and move the pointer to the end of the file. Such a method is reasonable for a tape. Advantages of the sequential access method. It is simple to implement the file access mechanism. It uses lexicographic, that is the alphabetic order or a numerical order, to quickly access the next entry. It is suitable for applications that require access to all records in the file in a specific order. It is less prone to data corruption as the data is written sequentially and not randomly. Disadvantages of a sequential access method. If the file record that needs to be accessed next is not present next to the current record, this type of file access method is slow. Moving a sizable chunk of the file may be necessary to insert a new record. It does not allow for the quick access to specific records in a file. The entire file must be searched sequentially to find a specific record that can be time consuming. It is not well suited for the application that require frequent updates on modifications to the file. Updating or inserting a record in the middle of the large file can be slow and cumbersome process. Next, we have direct access mechanism. The direct access method, also known as the relative access method, a fixed length logical record that allows the program to read and write the record rapidly in no particular order. The direct access is based on the disk model of a file since this allows random access to any file block. For direct access, the file is viewed as a numbered sequence of a block or a record. Thus, we may read the block 14 and then block 59 and then we can write the block 17. There is no restriction on the order of reading and writing the files for a direct access files. Here you can see the diagram with sequential access. Elements like 1, 2, 3 must be processed before the element 4 can be processed. But with the direct access, element 4 in the list can be accessed without having to process the elements before it. Advantages of direct access method. The file can be immediately accessed, decreasing the average access time. In direct access method, in order to access a block, there is no need of traversing all the blocks present before it. Disadvantages of the direct access method is direct access mechanism is typically difficult to implement due to its complexity. Organizations can face security issues as a result of a direct access, as the users may access, modify this sensitive information. As a result, additional security processes must be put in place. Next, we have the index sequential method. In this other method of accessing a file that is built on the top of a sequential access method. This method constructs an index for a file. The index, like index in the back of a book, contains the pointer to the various blocks. To find the record in a file, we first search the index and then by the help of the pointer, we access the file directly. It is built on the top of sequential access method. It controls the pointer by using the index. Here we have the primary index block and the secondary index block. In the primary index block, we have 5 and 9, which are interconnected or pointing to 1 and 2. The 5 is pointing to 1, 2, 3, and 6, and then 9 is pointing to 10, 14, and 15. Advantages of index sequential access. If the index table is appropriately arranged, it accesses the record very quickly. Records can be added at any position in the file quickly. Disadvantages are when compared to other file access method, it is costly and less efficient. It needs additional storage space. We have another method that is relative record access. Relative record access is a file access method used in operating systems where records are accessed relative to the current position of the file pointer. In these methods, records are located based on their position related to the current record rather than by a specific address or a key value. Relative record access is a random access method that allows records to be accessed based on their position relative to the current record. This method is efficient for accessing individual records but may not be suitable for the files that require frequent updates or random access to specific records. Advantages of relative record access are random access. That is, relative record access allows the random access to record in a file. The system can access any record at any specific offset from the current position of the file pointer. Efficient retrieval. Since the system only needs to read the current record and any records that need to be skipped, record access is more efficient than sequential access for accessing the individual records. Disadvantages are fixed record length and limited flexibility. Relative record access requires fixed length records. If the records are of varying length, it may be necessary to use padding to ensure that each record is the same length. Relative access is not very flexible. It is difficult to insert or delete records in the middle of a file without disrupting the relative positions of the other records. Next, we have content addressable access method. The content addressable access method is a file access method used in an operating system that allows records or blocks to be accessed based on their content rather than their address. In this method, a hash function is used to calculate a unique key for each record or a block, and the system can access any record or block by specifying its key. Unique. Each record or block has a unique key that is generated using a hash function. Calculated based on the content. The key is calculated based on the content of the record or a block rather than its location or an address. Advantages are efficient search. CAA is ideal for searching large databases or file systems because it allows for efficient searching based on the content of these records or blocks. Flexibility. CAA is more flexible than other methods because it allows for easy insertion and deletion of records or blocks. Disadvantages are overhead. CAA requires additional overhead because the hash function must be calculated for each record or a block. Collision. There is a possibility of a collision where two records or blocks can have the same key. This can be minimized by using a good hash function, but it cannot be completely eliminated. So finally, we have the conclusion. The operating system may require certain files which need to be loaded into the computer memory. The file access methods are sequential access, direct access, and indexed. Sequential access, relative record access, and CAA. Sequential access allows the access to file records in a sequential order, one after the other. Direct access allows the random access to the file blocks. Indexed sequential access is the modification of the sequential access. It contains an index that holds pointer to various other blocks of the file. Relative record access allows the random access to records in a file. CAA is ideal for searching large databases or file systems. So that's all for this video. Thank you.